Hello Internet! Today I'm going to show you how to make cheesy potato balls using leftover mashed potatoes. Let's get into it. So, I already have my leftover mashed potatoes made from the other day, as you can see. And what we're going to do to these, it's a very simple recipe. To about this much mashed potatoes, so a cup and a half or so, I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of flour. And I'm just going to mix it around. It's going to stick to my hands at first, but then it'll become a Play-Doh type of texture. Now my potatoes are at room temperature. They're not warm and they're not cold, because if they were cold it would kind of make my fingers numb. So, okay, now that 2 tablespoons is worked in, I'm going to add 2 more. I like to work in increments so that I can work everything together and it doesn't get all over the place and the flour doesn't poof all over. As you can see, they're starting to get where they're not sticking to my fingers as much. Okay. And then I'm going to add 1 more. So that's 5 tablespoons of flour, roughly, depending on how many potatoes you have. There is no right or wrong to this. You can make them a little bit stickier. You can have them a little bit less of a sticky consistency, so that. But I like the way that is, because when I move it, it doesn't really stick around to the pan or the bowl I'm at. Okay, I'm gonna add about half a teaspoon of salt, only because I don't cook my potatoes with salt in the water. Keep working them for a little bit. Okay, so what I'm going to do is put that to the side, wash my hand off, and then I have a block of mozzarella cheese. I'm not using this whole entire block. It's just how the size that they come in at our local supermarket. I'm going to cut them into strips about 1/2 inch thick. And as you notice, I say about, because I don't measure, I just do. Okay, and that's about half the brick. And then these I'm going to cut into halves. And then each one of these I'll cut into little cubes, about 4. Sorry about that, my camera battery ran out. I didn't realize it. So while the battery was charging, I went and made a few up, but I'm going to show you how to do them. The cheese is cut up into little cubes, squares, rectangles, whatever they come out to be. They don't have to be perfect, but no bigger than that one. So probably 3/4 of an inch by 1/2 inch, whatever. And then what you're going to do is I'll bring this over here, and take a little bit of your potato, and then you're going to roll it in your hand, flatten it out, just like you were playing with Play-Doh when you were a kid. Okay, take your cheese, place it in the middle, fold up around it, and then roll it. And that's all you do. And I'll do a couple more here. Pinch off some potato. Flatten it out. Put a cube of cheese in. Roll it up. And roll it around. last one. Flatten it out. Put a cube of cheese in. Squish it around. And then roll it. Okay. So what we do is we let these sit for about 30 minutes in the refrigerator so that they get nice and firm. And then what we do is we come back and we'll coat them. Okay, it's been about 30 minutes. These have been sitting in the refrigerator. So now we're going to make our coating. We're going to have 2 eggs. And then to the eggs, we're going to add 4 tablespoons of flour. Now this is going to make like a batter. Usually you would do an egg, a flour, and then a coating, but this recipe calls for flour and eggs mixed together and then coated with some breadcrumbs. I am making a mess. I'm trying to get it done before the camera dies on me again. Ooh. I hate working with eggs. The whites of the eggs never want to work into anything I do. Now, if yours ends up being too thick, you can add tiny bit of water to it, a little bit of milk. It's not going to make a difference. It just has to stick to the potato balls, that's all. Okay. Nice batter. All right. Okay, so there's our first dish. To our second dish, we're simply just going to add some panko breadcrumbs. Now, when it comes to the crumb part, you can add panko, you can add Italian seasoned breadcrumbs, you can crush up or grind up Pringles or pretzels or Ritz crackers. It's whatever you desire to put on the outside. So what we simply do is try to keep one hand, my left hand's going to be my wet hand. I roll these around, trying to be dainty with them. Spread the stuff on them. Pinch them. Let them drip off a little bit. And then in here. And then this one I'll just sprinkle some breadcrumbs on them. And that's it. Let them sit to the side for a few minutes so they'll set up and the eggs and the breadcrumbs will combine together. Make a nice coating on them. And I'll do this one. And yes, you get dirty. You can wear gloves if you want to. I just am a very rough type of person and it doesn't matter to me. Okay, there's that one. I'm going to finish off the rest. Okay, so we've moved over to the stove. All of my balls have been sitting for about 15 minutes. So what we're going to do, and in the process I was heating up some vegetable oil. I'm going to check and make sure it's warm enough, which it's not. If you see, when I put them in, they don't bubble. So we'll wait just a few more minutes for that to go. Okay, so we're back at the oven now. I wanted to make sure that my oil was hot enough, so I dumped one of them in. Okay. And it looks like it is, so what I'm going to do is add a couple more in. Now you got to remember that the potatoes are already cooked and you don't have to cook cheese in order to eat it. So basically what you're doing is browning the outside and warming it up enough so that the cheese melts inside of the potatoes. So it's usually around 3 to 5 minutes. Now when they look just about that, I would give it maybe a minute more just to make sure the cheese inside is done, and then we'll remove them. Obviously this one's been sitting in the oil a little bit longer than the other 3 I just put in. And as you can see, it's starting to float to the top, so that means everything inside of it has really lost most of its moisture. Okay, yep, and my cheese is starting to blow off the side, so that's it. That's what they're supposed to look like when they're done. Okay, so I cooked up all of them and placed them on a plate, but the ultimate test is the cheesy test. So we're gonna break one apart and see what it looks like inside. Be careful, I don't want it to get too hot. Ooh. That's some stringy cheese. Look at that. Dunk it in. This is just normal ketchup. And there you go, cheesy potato balls. This recipe came from a another YouTube channel called Nino's House. I'll leave a link in the description. You should go over there and check him on out. Thank you.